Welcome to our exploration of Cambodia's monarchy during the French colonial period. A time of great upheaval and transformation, where the ancient kingdom found itself caught between its own rich heritage and the encroaching ambitions of a European power. Let's delve into the reigns of the key Khmer kings who navigated this complex era. Each monarch faced unique challenges and made decisions that shaped the destiny of their nation. Through their stories, we'll witness the resilience of the Cambodian people, the intricacies of power dynamics, and the lasting impact of colonialism on this Southeast Asian nation. The year is 1863. The sun rises over the majestic temples of Angkor, a silent testament to Cambodia's glorious past. These ancient structures stand as a reminder of a time when the Khmer Empire was a dominant force in Southeast Asia. But the kingdom is a shadow of its former self, squeezed by powerful neighbours. The once mighty empire now finds itself vulnerable, caught between the ambitions of Siam to the west and Vietnam to the east. King Norodom I, a shrewd ruler, faces an impossible dilemma: succumb to Siamese or Vietnamese domination, or seek the protection of a distant European power. His decision will shape the future of his kingdom. He chooses the latter, signing a treaty with France that ushers in an era of French dominance. This agreement, while offering a semblance of security, comes at a significant cost. The French protectorate, however, is not a partnership of equals. The French quickly established their authority, imposing their will on the Cambodian administration. Norodom, a proud monarch, finds his authority increasingly curtailed. His role as king becomes more ceremonial as the French tighten their grip on the kingdom. He witnesses the steady erosion of his power as the French tighten their grip on his nation's affairs. The Cambodian people too feel the weight of foreign control. Resentment simmers beneath the surface. The Cambodian populace grows increasingly discontent with the foreign presence and the loss of their autonomy. Norodom, though bound by the treaty, never truly accepts French supremacy. He remains determined to protect his nation's identity and sovereignty. He resists their encroachments, pushing back against their attempts to control his country's destiny. His defiance becomes a symbol of national pride and resistance. His reign becomes a delicate balancing act, a constant negotiation between preserving Cambodia's sovereignty and appeasing the powerful French. Every decision he makes is fraught with the potential for conflict. It's a struggle that will define his legacy and set the stage for the tumultuous century to come. His efforts, though constrained, lay the groundwork for future resistance. Norodom's resistance, though ultimately unable to stem the tide of French colonialism, plants the seeds of national identity and resistance that will blossom in the generations to come. His legacy endures in the spirit of a nation that never gave up its quest for freedom. Upon Norodom's death, the throne passes to his half-brother, Sisowath. Unlike his predecessor, Sisowath adopts a more conciliatory approach towards the French. He understands the precarious position Cambodia occupies in the New World Order. He sees cooperation, not confrontation, as the best way to ensure his nation's survival. Under Sisowath's reign, French influence permeates every facet of Cambodian life. From administration and education to infrastructure and the economy, the French presence becomes increasingly pervasive. New roads and railways snake across the countryside, connecting distant corners of the kingdom to the bustling capital, Phnom Penh. Schools are built, introducing Western ideas and education to a new generation of Cambodians. But this modernization comes at a cost. The French language gains prominence, gradually overshadowing the Khmer language in government and education. Traditional Cambodian customs and institutions are slowly eroded. Sisowath's reign is a time of peace and stability, but it's a fragile peace built on accommodation and compromise. The embers of resentment, though hidden from view, continue to smoulder. The king's balancing act, however, buys Cambodia time. Time for a new generation to come of age, a generation that will inherit the mantle of leadership and ultimately determine the fate of their nation. Chapter 3. On the precipice of change, Monivong and the shadow of global upheaval. This chapter delves into the turbulent times that shaped King Monivong's reign and the broader historical context that influenced Cambodia's trajectory. The world watches in horror as the Great War engulfs Europe in a maelstrom of violence. The conflict, which began in 1914, quickly escalates, drawing in nations from across the globe and leaving a trail of devastation in its wake. Though geographically distant, Cambodia does not escape the conflict's ripple effects. The war's economic and political repercussions reach far and wide, impacting even the most remote corners of the world, including Cambodia. King Monivong, Sisowath's son, ascends the throne in 1927, inheriting a kingdom grappling with the social and economic consequences of a global conflict. His coronation marks the beginning of a reign fraught with challenges and uncertainties. The 1930s bring further hardship as the Great Depression casts a long shadow over the world. The economic downturn exacerbates existing struggles, leading to widespread poverty and suffering in Cambodia. Cambodia, heavily reliant on France, feels the economic squeeze. The colonial administration's policies and the global economic crisis combine to create a perfect storm of hardship for the Cambodian people. The French, facing their own challenges, tighten their grip on their colonial possessions. Their efforts to maintain control become more pronounced, leading to increased tensions and resentment among the local population. Monivong, already constrained by the protectorate, finds his autonomy further diminished. The king's ability to govern is increasingly limited by the demands and restrictions imposed by the French colonial authorities. He witnesses the rise of nationalist movements within Cambodia, fueled by growing resentment towards French rule and inspired by independence struggles in other parts of Asia. These movements gain momentum, reflecting a broader desire for self-determination and freedom. The world once again plunges into war in 1939, and the fragile peace in Southeast Asia crumbles. The outbreak of World War II brings new challenges and uncertainties to the region. In 1941, the Japanese, seeking to establish their own dominance in the region, occupy Cambodia. The Japanese occupation introduces a new layer of complexity to the already volatile situation in the country. Monivong dies that same year, his reign bookended by global turmoil. His death marks the end of an era, leaving Cambodia at a crossroads, with its future hanging in the balance. He leaves behind a kingdom on the precipice of change, its future uncertain, its destiny hanging in the balance. The legacy of his reign is one of resilience in the face of overwhelming odds, and the hope for a brighter future amid the shadows of global upheaval. Chapter 4. The Young King, Norodom Sihanouk and the Dawn of Independence. In 1941, as the world grapples with the horrors of war, a young king ascends the Cambodian throne. The world is in turmoil, and Cambodia is no exception. Amidst this chaos, a beacon of hope emerges. Norodom Sihanouk, just 18 years old, becomes a symbol of hope for a nation yearning for a brighter future. His youth and vigor inspire the Cambodian people, who see in him the promise of a new dawn. The French, still nominally in control despite the Japanese occupation, believe they can manipulate the young monarch. They see him as inexperienced and malleable, a pawn in their colonial game. They underestimate his intelligence, his ambition, and his deep-seated love for his country. Sihanouk is not just a figurehead, he is a leader with a vision for his nation's future. Sihanouk, initially cooperative, grows increasingly disillusioned with French rule. He sees the exploitation and the injustices inflicted upon his people and realizes that true independence is the only path forward. He witnesses firsthand the injustices of colonialism and becomes a vocal advocate for his people's right to self-determination. His speeches and actions ignite a sense of nationalism among the Cambodian people. He understands the global forces at play and skillfully navigates the treacherous waters of international politics. Sihanouk meets with world leaders. Gaining their support and learning from their experiences, he plays the French and the Japanese against each other, buying time and maneuvering for a better position. His strategic acumen becomes evident as he carefully balances these powerful forces. With the end of World War II, Sihanouk seizes the opportunity to push for full independence. He addresses the nation, calling for unity and strength in the face of adversity. He rallies his people, igniting a wave of nationalist fervor that sweeps across Cambodia. The streets are filled with passionate citizens, all united under the banner of independence. In 1953, after years of struggle and negotiation, Cambodia finally breaks free from the shackles of French colonialism. The celebrations are grand, marking a historic moment for the nation. Sihanouk, the young king who had defied expectations, becomes the architect of his nation's independence. His determination and leadership have brought Cambodia to this pivotal point. His reign marks the end of an era, the closing of a chapter in Cambodia's long and storied history. The transition is not easy, but Sihanouk's vision guides the nation through these challenging times. But it also marks a new beginning, a chance for the Cambodian people to forge their own destiny on the world stage. Under Sihanouk's leadership, Cambodia steps into a new era filled with hope and potential. Outro, a legacy of resilience. Thank you for joining us on this journey through Cambodia's colonial history. We've witnessed the challenges faced by four monarchs, each navigating the complexities of their time. From Norodom reluctant acceptance of the protectorate to Sihanouk's triumphant fight for independence, we've seen the resilience of the Cambodian spirit. Stay tuned for more insights into the fascinating stories of our world's past.